everyone. I want to welcome you to my seventh episode of the COVID recovery series, where I interview with patients who have recovered from COVID-19 from all over the world, and also movers and shakers who are fighting the fight. Now, with 153,000 cases and over 20,000 fatalities from COVID-19, the United Kingdom remains under lockdown, and things seem to be continuing as they have been, with cautious security and care by the NHS. Now, it's the first episode that I'm inviting someone from the UK, specifically from London, who will be joining me. She's not only a COVID patient herself who survived, but she's also an entrepreneur, a female startup executive, and all in all, an incredibly inspiring woman. She's going to talk to us about her fight with COVID, but also how she's running her business, her startup, in this pandemic and in this lockdown. Marina Pengilly will be joining us from London. I will bring her into the conversation. She is the founder of LBD, Little Black Door. She'll tell us about the platform and also other ventures that she was a part of and how she's handling everything during this pandemic. Let's see if Marina is here with us. Oh, there we go. Hi, Marina. Hi.
Hello.
How are you?
Very good, and yourself?
Great, wonderful. It's good to have you. First
Thank you
of
for
all,
having us.
absolutely. First of all, how are you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. The pollen count's quite high today in London, so I've got quite puffy-eyed and quite congested. But other than that, fantastic.
Oh my goodness. Well, there's so much to talk about, and I really want to jump right into it. But as you know, the series is about patients who have recovered from COVID and people who come from different walks of life who are fighting the good fight. You yourself contracted the virus in London. You told me the story, but I think a lot of our viewers would be interested to know how you contracted the virus, whether or not you got tested, and how was the testing in London?
Sure, absolutely. So actually, I contacted COVID probably 10 days before isolation was put in place. I contacted it by actually going out with a group of friends, and one of our friends had it, but he didn't really think he did. He just thought he had a really bad cold. And subsequently, the whole group of friends that were there just caught it. And within that week, actually within days, we all felt the same symptoms. Some actually got hit a lot harder than others. But what was very interesting at that time was because the government hadn't put the right things in place. So when I was feeling the symptoms and I called 111, I was literally on the phone for 2.5 hours trying to get someone to come and see me, get tested. And when that did happen, they actually cancelled my test because I'm 30, and they're looking at my medical records. They didn't see me as a critical case. However, my friends who did get tested and managed to, actually, they flew out of the country the following day, not thinking they contracted it, and they all got tested, and they got tested positive.
Wow, and they went to South Africa, you said?
Yes, exactly. And they all managed to get tests there. And then I've also had some friends who have been that were in my COVID group, and they got tests privately, and yes, they all got tested positive as well.
Wow, but you stayed home. You decided that you're gonna, stay in quarantine and isolation and just take care of yourself. And you recovered. How long did it take, and what were some of your symptoms? And what's your advice for people in London specifically who may not have access to testing, but do feel the same symptoms as you do?
Well, one, I think you've got to be kind to yourself, because I feel that we live in an environment where we're constantly trying to do things 24/7. And so when you get ill, you don't really want to take note of it. And I think I'm one to contest that, because as soon as I was getting these symptoms, my business partner was like, Marina, you need to go to bed because something's not right here. And she was absolutely right. You just have to rest. And also the symptoms of COVID, like you go up and down. It's like an emotional roller coaster because it's constantly changing and you don't really realize. Like I didn't have any sense of smell or taste. And I was trying to like light candles. I'm like, what's wrong with these candles? I can't. But the symptoms of smell and taste hadn't really been put across yet. It was more like having flu symptoms. But I had a terrible cough, really bad fever, kind of had like in and out of consciousness, but that wasn't, I didn't have that for very long in terms of those intense symptoms. But it probably took me probably around like 15 days before I woke up and I was like, wow, now I feel back to normal. However, I still feel extremely tired from everything. Like I still feel like I need like a nap in the afternoon.
Wow. Wow. Would you, I mean, as you know, I also live in London, but right now I'm in Stockholm, and I talked about my own symptoms and, you know, how I recovered. And I've been interviewing folks in the Middle East, the US, elsewhere in Europe. I also didn't get tested, but my partner did. And, you know, we live in the same house. So obviously, you know, I had it too. You didn't get tested, but your friends did. And as a result, you're sure that, you know, you had it because you were, you know, within that bubble. Um, you know, as a young woman in London, what did you want to see that you didn't see in the government's response in handling and managing this crisis?
Well, firstly, I definitely wanted to get tested because obviously since I went out, I also interacted with other people and other people that actually had children. And also my mom, who's over 60, she puts it in a vulnerable account. So to get tested was actually quite important to me. And the fact that they gave me an allocation to get tested and then they cancelled it the next day so that I wasn't in the critical phase, that was kind of frustrating because it is a very frustrating virus. And also there was times when I found it very difficult to breathe. And so my business partner actually came and brought me an inhaler just to help me when I was struggling. And if I didn't have the support system that I have, I probably would have had a really tough time.
Okay. Are there, what are your thoughts about the private testing? Because in London, I know different clinics providing different testing. In Sweden, and I'm sure elsewhere in the world, there are clinics and medical practices that are giving these private tests. What are your thoughts on that? And did any of your friends get tested there?
Yeah, so absolutely. So a number of my friends got tested there because we were literally 10 days before isolation hit. As soon as we felt the symptoms, there was a wait list to get tested. So when it got past like a month, I was like, actually, you know what? All my friends who were able to get tests have it, and I now feel so much better. What I'm more interested in doing is actually doing the antibody test. But if you read, like, it's the accuracy isn't there yet. So I want to wait till there's an actual test that is 100% or 99% saying you did have it or you have the antibodies, because otherwise you're just wasting your time, and also you think that you've got something when you don't. It's all up in the air a little bit.
Right. Well, I'm really glad to see you doing better. It's just always exciting to see people who have recovered. So I'm really.
No, I mean, it is a very frustrating virus, and it's scary to read that, you know, they're now having more reports saying about the long-term effects, that it affects your liver, your lungs. And I think, I mean, I'm an active individual and I love doing exercise, and I can feel it when I go running that it is a struggle. And I really haven't, I wouldn't say I've got my full strength back for sure.
Well, hopefully it will come back. I mean, I still don't have my taste.
Of course. Of course. And I don't think pollen helps either.
Yes. Marina, I want to talk, and it kind of ties into, you know, what you said earlier. You know, you're always on the go, and you realize that you need to take a step back and take care of yourself. You are a female entrepreneur. You have been in the startup space for a very long time, and you spend many years in that space with the different businesses that you've had, and now you and your co-founder founded LBD, Little Black Door, and I want you to talk about that. Tell us about how you, as a startup, executive and entrepreneur, had to handle with your day-to-day work, given that, you know, it's you and your partner and it's a startup, it's a small business, but on the other hand, you have COVID. How did you juggle this issue?
Well, one, I've got the most amazing team, and without them, nothing would be possible. Secondly, as soon as all the reports came out of China, we actually had a meeting. This was even before I got ill, and did a contingency plan of what to do next. And that was unfortunately having to release anyone that was a freelancer, because we just didn't know how long this was going to last for. But equally speak to our suppliers, being like, we're meant to be going through a fundraise right now, and we don't know how long this is going to last. And it will obviously it will affect our cash flow. So we tried to put worst case scenario in and just work towards that. And then also we saw this as a real opportunity, because obviously a lot of people are at home. We're building, you know, your social wardrobe where you upload your clothes, you pick your clothes.
Yes, and I want you to, you know, briefly explain what LBD is, because I think it's quite a fascinating platform, and then maybe, you know, go back to how you juggle. But please tell us what LBD is, and, you know, how can people get their hands on it?
Absolutely. So Little Black Door, we're building your social wardrobe. Where essentially you can upload your clothes, interact with them, play with them, but also connect with your friends and other stylish individuals, where you can borrow, lend, but as well as like you can style looks together for your friends. It all came out about a bit of a sustainable tenant, because, you know, fast fashion is very pollutant. It's the second most polluting industry, but also we're not efficient with our wardrobes. And most of my friends, if I ask them, do you know what you own? They'll say yes, but if you really ask, they don't know, and they don't utilize their clothes. And being, I don't know, a girl, and I probably spend most of my money on my rent, and secondly my clothes, not knowing that's not good enough in these days. So we wanted to build something to like help us girls to be really efficient with our clothes and also have fun with them. Like, they're an amazing asset that can be released. And so if you're not using them, I'm sure we can put them on a marketplace, or you can share with your friends.
So I guess in a nutshell, if I want to explain what LBD, Little Black Door, is, it's an online platform on an app where I can share my closet, not only organize it, be aware of what I have, but also loan my clothes to others, but also borrow clothes from you know,
you can borrow, you can lend.
Around the world.
Sorry?
Around the world.
Well, not, I mean, around the world is a little bit more difficult, but at the moment we're starting more localized. So London girls can share, and also you can connect with your friends. So, for instance, imagine if I was going to a wedding and I don't have anything to wear, I can look into like my friend's wardrobe, pick some items, and then request to borrow. Likewise, they can look into my wardrobe and put looks together, and almost have like a refreshing eye.
Wonderful. And also this ties to a bigger discussion that is near and dear to both our hearts, which is, you know, sustainable fashion. And I want to talk about that because that's part of your startup. What is your advice about, you know, women from different, you know, I guess backgrounds and countries who are working in sustainable fashion in the startup space, which is pretty new, and at this stage may feel a little bit insecure as far as the future of their job, given everything that's going on?
Sorry, it broke up a little bit at the beginning. Could you repeat your question? Sorry.
In a nutshell, you know, sustainable fashion is a space that's growing.
Completely,
you know,
completely.
right?
And it's so important. And actually, I mean, that if you look at trend forecasts, I mean, sustainability is the kind of key word sustainability has been thrown around quite a lot lately. And with us, we're more about conscious consumerism, because basically we really feel that people should be investing in their clothes and really look at the root of where their clothes come from. I mean, of course, if you buy an affordable thing from Zara, if you want to wear it for like 10 to 15 years, fantastic. But to have these full seasons where people are just not, they probably wear it once and then they dispose of it, it's not the right framework. So to see sustainable fashion brands emerging is incredible. But obviously, due to the environment that we're in, it's a very tough space to enter. And I feel for these brands, especially at this point in time, because I formerly was a retail consultant, and you just see on the high street that it's a tough place, especially if you're trying to bring a brand out. So you just got to be very disruptive with your marketing and your comms.
I see, and that pivots to my next point. You've been in the startup space for a while, and you had a very strong success story entering, the space that you did. What is your advice and some tips that younger female entrepreneurs and those with startup ideas can take away from you right now, given the pandemic? Whether they're finding investors, whether they're worried about being laid off, whether they're worried about their idea falling apart. What are your advice?
I mean, there's no doubt about we're in uncertain times. But when you're in uncertain times, you just got to be hugely creative. But also, there's a huge network of individuals who are so supportive. And you just got to go out there and ask people for help. Because there's a lot of people from when I started my career that I would have thought they would never respond to me, but actually they did. And especially like looking on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, just asking for advice is one of the best things, because these individuals, they've failed, they've had successes, their intellectual capital is absolutely incredible. So definitely just try and speak to someone, and they definitely will. Secondly, there is so many digital online courses to just adapt to different skill sets. So whether that's growth hacking or using Photoshop, or there's a number of things that you can turn to just that you don't have to go to another supplier and have that you don't have to have that as part of your cash flow, because we are hugely adaptable. We can see the COVID. No one would have thought that in terms of isolation that the world would still be running. So
right.
Yeah, there's so many outlets you can go to, and I really believe that we can all, see if there's also an interest, like just go and do it. Udemy is like a fantastic site, which I go on a lot and try and practice a number of things, and marketing is now one of them.
Which website is it? Maybe we can share it with our viewers.
Udemy, it's fantastic. So, and they've got amazing things. I mean, you can go from, it ranges from all different skill sets. And I go there, and I think some of these courses are like 4 hours long, but
oh, wow.
and you can always refer back to them. And so during this time when you are stuck and you're inside, it is a perfect opportunity just to have that skill set. And also, like I said, asking different networks, once you've had like a certain lesson on it, a lot of people do react. And also they see it as a compliment that you're asking them about something.
Wow. Actually, I'll share the website that you mentioned for
no,
definitely. Then on the other hand, there are people who had ideas, let's say all last year, and they wanted to launch, but they're afraid to do so right now. And I think a lot of girls, especially in the tech world, and I want you to talk about that because you also deal with the tech investors and the tech startup space, they might feel intimidated because it's predominantly male oriented, right?
Yeah.
Instagram gave me an error, but what is your advice for female entrepreneurs who had an idea but are scared to launch right now because of everything that's going on? Would you say launch or wait, or continue getting advice?
I think if you have an idea, one, test it. So create surveys or do a mock-up and get critical feedback before you invest a large amount of money. Investors love to look at data. And so for us, for instance, like with LBD, we sent a number of surveys on various topics. Also, we went to universities. There's a lot of university groups on Facebook where students love to give their feedback. And actually, they're super innovative when you do so, and it's great. And also, you can offer them internships later down the line. But yeah, first, I'd go test your concept, and then once you've got the data that can support it, then put a deck together, and then go to investors. But like you said, being a female in a tech-savvy world, and where £1 of VC investment, 1p goes to females, it is a hard climate. And you've got to be strong. You've got to really believe in it, in your gut, that this is what you want to do. and really go with it, because you're going to get so many no's to the few yeses that you get. But yeah, you just got to stick in there. And also, like I said, not only do I have the most amazing co-founder and team, but you know, I've got the most amazing community. And when I say community, it's not just my friends, it's this network that I've built from asking people on LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, that have just become my friends. Even though I've never physically met them, that we speak all the time virtually. And yeah, and on that point, like finding people that you really trust and you value their opinion.
I think it's so important that, you know, female entrepreneurs who work in the tech space be vocal like you are. And, you know, we continue the conversation because it in ways give confidence to younger women who want to break the mold in the tech space, who, as you said, are you know, faced with a male dominated environment. Do you have any stories that you want to share that really reflects that you know, idea that, you know what, you need to raise your flag, you need to fight for your vision and dream, and not be intimidated by this facade that's created by, you know, by this all, you know, white male dominated space?
Well, I think if you're, we're fast tech, and I think when we go to VCs, fashion isn't, it's something that they don't really relate to, most of them. They're more into like fintech, prop tech. So you're already going against a battle when you're going to pitch. And I'm speaking from how what we experience. I know it's not general, but you've just to other. I mean, it's wrong to say that girls have a really tough time, because we've got also amazing mentors in the tech space who are men and who have been so supportive and who've like supported us throughout. And actually, a lot of them are actually our advisors now, because they saw the vision and they liked our team. So to other girls, I just say, again, it's all about your network, the idea, and just the belief that you can actually bring it off the ground. Because there's so many times that through the journey, I mean, it took us around a year to properly raise, but it took us 6 months to really finalize a really amazing concept and then raise. But you just got to stick in there, because really you have so many bad days where you're like, what am I doing? Why did I leave a job that was paying me every month to be in this, where actually I'm now eBaying for my salary and actually testing out the market at the same time. So it was a fantastic experience. But you know, it is a real struggle, and it's not for the faint-hearted. And there was many like days that my partner and I probably shed a tear, and we're like, are we doing the right thing? And you know what, I'm so happy we stuck into, because you know what, we really love we love LBD. We're constantly a use case for it, and we just can't wait for the world to actually get it in their hands. It's an exciting time.
That's excellent. I can't wait for the world to see it too. And I saw, you know, LBD actually commented that, you know, we can get ideas globally, and I'll be sure to share, you know, more about LBD and how that can be possible on my Instagram. But Marina, a question I wanted to ask is, you touched on it, is on the mental health of young founders like yourself.
Yes.
You know, or days that you just, you know, wanted to quit, or, you know, moments that you would cry. I mean, I have cried in the process of, you know, writing my book, right, you know, launching my charity, you know, even writing an article, sometimes, you know, dealing with your editor. What kept you going? What is your advice for you know, younger women who are starting out an idea or starting up a company that would feel disillusioned and really, you know, worn down and just, you know, don't feel that energy? What do you say to them?
So, like I said before, you need to be kind to yourself, because you know, we are our own worst enemy. We say things that are actually not correct, and sometimes like something that I do is, like I said, I've got the most amazing community of like female entrepreneur supporters, that when I'm having a down day and I speak to them, they just remind me of like the things that I've actually achieved. Because deep down, you don't think about that. Sometimes you're like, oh, I'm failing miserably. When they're like, actually, if you actually think about it from like an outward perspective, you've done X, Y, and Z. Don't think like that. And then you have that moment where like, yes, you're absolutely right. And and that's why support systems are so clear. But also you need to have a routine which is healthy. I had a startup before LBD, which was food related, and I wouldn't say I went with a very healthy mindset. Like, I worked 24/7. There were some days that I was like in my PJs all day and then changed into new PJs. And I was alone pretty much all the time. And that really affected my mental health. And from there, I have like a standpoint where no emails after 8 p.m. and no emails before 8 a.m. You need to give yourself a break, because if you're not fresh and relaxed and energized, you're not going to really put 100% into the business during the day. You need to take the time for yourself. You are your biggest asset. And if you don't do that, then it's going to be, it's hard to sustain a business. It is, and it is hard because your business is throwing so many different things at you all the time, which is challenging you all the time and making you think like, am I right for this? Can I do it? And so just to have that time just to like meditate, just be a little bit further away from it, to really think, is so important, because that's when you actually that's also when you get the most creative ideas.
No, that's so true. And I think that takes me to my last question, which is, instead of looking at the lockdown and the quarantine and this pandemic negatively, I mean, just, of course, there are, very sad stories coming out that we all know about, but as someone who recovered from it, what are you looking forward to during this time, both for yourself and also for your business?
I mean, obviously it's giving us a lot of time. Normally our day to day, we'd be running around Mayfair, East London, and it just running around and not really having the time to stop and think. And this has provided us the opportunity to stop and think. And what we've been doing is just really like going to the core of being like, how are we going to strategize our next fundraise? What really do people need? And so this has also been great because obviously a lot of other people's lives have slowed down because they're at home. So it's given us the perfect opportunity to actually speak to our community and be like, how can we make this better for you? Because essentially at the end of the day, we're building a product to serve our community. And if we're not doing that, then we're not doing our job. So so we've just been utilizing it as much as we can, because we know as soon as like we're back into the hustle, we won't have it again. Like people will be, not living like, the ordinary lives again. Whereas right now it is the perfect time. And I know it's sad, and obviously it's a very sad time for a lot of people, because like you said, a lot of people are worried about their jobs, people are getting furloughed. And it is really sad, and it's horrible. But at the same time, we're just trying to build, I mean, at the end of the day, like our brand also makes girls, asset rich, because they're able to utilize their clothes and put it on a secondary marketplace. So we're also trying to put in really fun initiatives for girls to actually have something for themselves, and be able to get out of this in a positive way.
Well, that is a fantastic and positive note to end the conversation. And I'll be sure to share the link to LBD on the different platforms that I have, and of course the sites that you mentioned where girls and young entrepreneurs can go to and take classes and courses and really utilize this time. Well, I'm really glad that you are doing well, and I absolutely can't wait to actually join the LBD community, Marina.
Oh, I can't wait for you too. I can't wait.
Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, and thank you for your time.
Thank you. See you in London soon.
Yes.